Hello, my name is Dr. Cedric Noel, and I'd like to talk today on a topic that I am passionate about, and that is pulse electromagnetic frequency. And this is a therapy in which we use pulsed magnetic energy through the body to optimize healing of the body. At a cellular level, what really is happening is that the cells of the body are being challenged or being exercised. And in this process, it's accelerating and optimizing the metabolism. So there's some key things to be aware of as you are subjecting your body to this kind of therapy. You know, there's PEMF devices that are low intensity and there's some that are high intensity. I've personally experienced both. I have owned both for years and I love them both. They both work. However, for certain purposes, one might be better than the other. And when it comes down to accelerating healing and especially targeting smaller regions of the body or specific regions of the body, the higher intensity PMF I find to be far superior. Okay, we see dramatic change in a very short amount of time, oftentimes in just one session, where we see pain going down dramatically. I don't see those same kinds of predictable results with the lower intensity version. However, it's not to say that low intensity PMF does not work. It does. It's beneficial. It actually is great for your body. It might take longer to reach a similar result, however. Now, that's also to say that some people can only tolerate the low intensity option. You know, so it really comes down to what is the state of your of integration of your cells. You know, how efficient metabolically your cells are and what can they handle, because PEMF is exercising the cells. So now, to get a greater understanding of exactly what's happening, PEMF is infusing electrons into your body. These electrons are absolutely required for your cells to survive and to function and to perform at a higher level. It comes down to electrons. So electrons are, when you break matter down into its smallest particles, you're looking at electrons, you're looking at a nucleus, which is positively charged, electrons, which revolves around the nucleus, and these electrons are negatively charged. And so we need as many electrons as possible in order to function at a higher level. So the basic needs of a cell is the voltage is negative 25. Okay, cells require negative 25 to function normally. In order for the cell to function at a higher level, if it's involved in repairing and healing, then that you need double the charge. You need closer to negative 50 millivolts. You need more electrons. When you look at cancer cells are in the positive. It's like a positive 30 in that range. You can actually say that illness is on that spectrum, right? It's on that spectrum of charge, of being away, more positive, if you will, as opposed to negative, closer to the positive charge. And when you consider body pH as well, so body pH is voltage, so different pH is associated with different voltage. So ideally, if you look at an alkaline pH, then you're getting more into the negative voltage, more electrons. And so consider the fact that you need as many electrons as possible. The cool thing is that the cell is designed in a way such that it can store additional electrons. And the storage takes place in the lipid bilayer, in the membrane of the cell. The cell needs to have optimal integrity in order to be able to do that. So, and that's where fat content, especially having that lipid within your cell, is really essential. Also, you want to make sure that you have proper hydration and a good amount of electrolytes in your system So that's going to be important too. So all these components are essential for you to be able to handle electrons, PEMF, or you can even say in nature. In nature, right? So in nature, we normally get these electrons from making contact with the ground. We get it from making contact with other people. When you touch somebody, you transfer, electrons get transferred, and they go from high to low, right? So if my amount of my charge level, if I have extra electrons and I touch someone who is very depleted, I will transfer electrons into that person. And that's where the power of touch is so amazing. But it's the same with animals. And the cool thing with animals is that they're not putting shoes on, right? When they go out in nature, they're in the dirt, they're running around, they're making direct contact with the ground. The moist ground especially, I think, is a little richer. You have more of a transmitter through the moisture. So consider that your animals, as they cuddle with you, as they touch you, and you hold them, or children, when you hold them, there's a transfer of electrons that happens there. So human contact, animal contact, contact with nature, with plants, with trees, with the ground, with the ocean, that's how we get recharged. So animals can go out there and get recharged and come right back and charge you up. So another way that we can get electrons more naturally, if we don't have access to a technology like PEMF therapy, is we can get it through our diet. And we do get it through the diet. I mean, the foods and the drinks that we consume are either going to donate electrons or steal electrons from you. And if you start looking through the lens of electrons for everything you do, you realize that, wow, every decision you make, really, life and healing comes down to voltage. It comes down to electrons. And when you start looking at which foods have a higher level of, or they're either more alkaline versus acidic, more electrons, right? More alkaline, more electrons, more negatively charged. You start making choices differently so that you can avoid the things that take away electrons from your system. And you consume the things that donate more electrons. You make sure you have enough essential fats in your diet so that you can store those electrons in your cells. You make sure you're consuming more hydrated foods versus dehydrated foods, so your cells can be hydrated and be healthier and be able to handle the charge that comes in and be able to utilize it more optimally. You also maybe start realizing that sleeping next to your wireless router is not ideal. You know, all those electrical devices around you, they steal electrons nonstop, right? So you need to have a plan so that there's enough balance, and that at the end of the day, you're not losing more electrons than you're gaining. You need to gain more than you're losing. And so that's what I'm hoping that you'll gain from this conversation, is that you want as many electrons as possible. So if you drink water, for example, purified water will steal electrons. You know, water that's been tampered with so much, right, to added chemicals and all sorts of things to purify it, versus spring water, you know, which has more minerals in it. Big difference. Carbonated water, carbonation will actually steal electrons from you. So that's not ideal. I know it's kind of nice sometimes to drink carbonated drinks. I just wouldn't do it all the time because it's constantly stealing electrons from your body. You need those. Eat foods that are natural. We get electrons from nature, from plants, from fruit, from vegetables. So you need to have those natural God-created foods to donate electrons into your body. Okay? I hope this was helpful. My purpose was to explain PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency technologies. Think from the lens of PEMF and how that can speed up healing, reduce pain. We see it all the time here in our office. It is incredible, this technology, how powerful it is and how well it can complement everything else that you do, whether you apply it directly on your digestive organs or on an area of your body that is not healing. You can apply it in different ways to have different benefits. My first experience with it, with a higher intensity PMF, was when I dislocated my left shoulder, and it wasn't improving. The pain was remaining for a long time. And finally, I got to try PMF. I did it twice, and my pain went away after 2 sessions. Now, everybody's different. I can tell you that the reason why I heal quickly with PMF, I think, is because I'm well hydrated. Every meal I eat is a hydrated meal. I try to avoid dehydrating my body as much as possible. Not only do I drink plenty of water, but I consume food that contains water that's naturally hydrated. And I try to consume as much food that is coming from nature in its natural state as possible. And so with that, keep that in mind. I know you probably have many other questions, but at least it gives you maybe an appreciation for how important the PMF technology is. I'm a huge fan of Pulse PMF technology. This particular company makes devices that I think have unique attachments that can deliver the PMF in different ways depending on the purpose. Some attachments are small and targeted, some are larger, and they can be used in different ways to pull or to push the PMF into your body, or to pull it through, so you can kind of sandwich your body with different attachments as well. You can do it on the brain at different frequencies than you might want to do it on a broken bone or another part of your body that is not healing or functioning well. So again, it's powerful. You typically will feel the effects in a visit, sometimes 2 or 3 applications. Sometimes it takes longer than that, but for the most part, most people notice a difference in just a few trials. All right, I hope you found that very helpful, and if you enjoyed this information, feel free to share it. Have a good day.